I used to live alone.
My name's Claire Corbett. I am a registered nurse. I work with youth in low decile schools. I've always wanted to be a nurse. I decided that in intermediate I actually went to Western Springs College myself. And yeah, so I'm pretty much living out what I want to do, and that's helping underprivileged children. Yeah.
I used to live alone, but I found you so certain I'm yours to take.
I was actually a really accident-prone kid myself and spent a bit of time in hospital. When I was 9, I had a motorbike accident, and then a couple of years later I had another accident, spent a lot of time in Starship, and while I was there kind of just saw what the nurses did, and pretty much from that age decided that nursing's what I wanted to do. Why kids? So growing up, all the kind of jobs that I did, I was a swim teacher or I nannied. I don't know, just kids are just easy, kids are fun, you know. I don't want to work with adults, you know, at least with kids it's fun and you can have a bit of a laugh and stuff. I will be a nurse 6 years in September this year. So I was really lucky, I got straight into Starship. School nursing was never on my radar, like Starship was always the dream for me. I was always kind of like, yep, Starship, and then I never expected to get Starship straight away, and then when I did get Starship I was kind of like it was great and I learned a lot, but I kind of was like, wow, this isn't really what I thought it was going to be. So yeah, school nursing, I just took the first job that came up, and that was a low decile school, a decile 1 school. So in the first school that I worked, and because it wasn't a zoned school, a lot of the kids came from low socioeconomic backgrounds, you know, living off kind of one family income kind of thing. You know, they'd have maybe all up 6 siblings, you know, and you can imagine living in Auckland off one income. So at this stage I'd been school nursing for about 4 years, and I'd been throwing all these different sort of curveballs, and I kind of felt like I'd reached my max in a school. Like I thought, oh, maybe I've done as much as I can here, I've learnt as much as I can, and then this opportunity popped up. Working in a youth justice facility, and I thought, well, this could be a chance to kind of challenge myself. So I worked down in Te Maioha or Parikarangi, so that's down in Rotorua. Initially, I think it took them a little while to kind of look past the fact that I was a young female and that I was actually a nurse. I think once they realised that I could actually do the jobs of a registered nurse and stuff. So a lot of them would be in there for obviously crimes that they'd done, so a lot of things like aggravated robbery, stealing cars, you know, drug use and stuff. They would have big kind of psych reports done on them, and you'd read these reports. They take you about an hour to read, and it's just these such traumatic childhoods that it's just, no wonder you're here. Like you almost don't even blame them. Anyway, so this one boy, he'd done his 6 months there, he was like top of the class, all this sort of stuff, doing really, really well. And it came to the end of his sentence, and yeah, he got really high praises, and he was let out, he got released, and he was back within 7 hours with another 6-month charge. And you'd kind of think, well, why would you do that, you know? And I remember he was asked this, and he said, well, when I'm here I have a roof over my head, I have food in my stomach, I have a bed to sleep in, and I have people that care about me, and I get to go to school, which is a lot better than the life I have. And that's the case for a lot of those boys, is that place is more of a home than what they actually have out in the real world. So yeah, okay, they don't have their freedom, but they have everything else, and that was kind of something that stuck with me, but it's also quite sad. If you let me take this off, I can get something to show you that he made. So this kid, when I left, like the day that I left, he organised like for all these boys to do a haka for me, and I mean, I just think that's so beautiful, you know. And then anyway, he made this canvas, and I just think it is just so beautiful. Not even just the fact that it's this, but like the fact he actually went through the effort. You know, this person who's meant to be this complete monster went through the effort to do this for me, you know, like actually spelt my name right, you know, all this sort of stuff. A lot of people spell my name wrong, but like actually went through the effort to make that for me. And I've got like another Christmas card and stuff, and I don't know, that kind of just really stuck with me. And yeah, he just, I think, will always be a kid that will always sit kind of in the back of my head. It was actually quite a hard decision to leave, but for me, I felt as a nurse I wasn't doing enough. So this is kind of the turning point for me, is back in November. So I'd been down there about 5 months, and I came back up to Auckland to go to my old high school, the school that I worked at, their senior prize giving. I got asked to go, so I thought I'll come up and watch. And there was this year 12 boy. I used to help him a lot, and he got made a prefect for the following year, and he came up to me as soon as prize giving finished, and he gave me this big hug, and he goes, you know, like, Miss, I couldn't have done that without you. And for me, that kind of just clicked in my head. I was kind of just like, I can do more in a high school than I can do in a youth justice facility. You know, I get more time with him at school. Like, I'd worked with that boy since he was year 8 and now he's year 12, whereas with these kids in YJ, we might get, you know, maybe 3 to 6 months with them, and you do all this intense work and then they go right back to where they've come from. And to me as a nurse, I just felt like I wasn't doing enough. The example is, in the schools, I'm working at the top of the cliff stopping these kids, whereas in YJ I'm just the ambulance at the bottom. You know, working up in the low decile schools, that itself is heartbreaking, and you realise how lucky you are, but then at least in those situations, you know, yeah, okay, these kids come from quite, you know, poor families and stuff like that, but they still have 1 or 2 things going for them. Whereas a lot of these boys down there, it's really hard to kind of find something, you know, and that it's actually just really heartbreaking that for a lot of these kids they have no one. So the school that I work at the moment is a Decile 2 school. It's a co-ed Catholic school. It's a special character school, so within the Catholic church, you know, there's a lot of, you know, for example, no contraception, so that is a real barrier there, you know. So a lot of the kids that come to that school, again, it's not a zoned school, they all come, majority of them, not all of them, come from South Auckland. So again, low socioeconomic background, quite high needs in regards to mental health, but also access to medical care. So quite a normal thing for me. So for example, we've already got about 4 kids there with rheumatic fever. So that's a third world disease. New Zealand shouldn't have that, but we do. And that's due to having strep throat and it's not being treated. And there's also a lot of mental health issues. So a big part of my role, part of my contract is I have to see every single year 9 in the whole school, and I have to do what's called a heads assessment. So a heads assessment is basically like a big psych assessment. So you kind of go through this acronym, and it's basically just a big snapshot of their life. And it's really interesting because you get some kids and they go, Miss, I could just lie to you. Like, I don't need to tell you anything. And yeah, they're totally right. They don't need to tell me anything. But what I say to them is that for some kids, this might be the only chance that they'll ever get asked if they're okay. Talk to them about depression, low mood, kind of just be able to pick up if there's any sort of resilience there as well. And then what we do is we kind of just do a big summary at the end, and we kind of outweigh their risk factors with their protective factors, and then we will decide whether, so for me, will I refer to counsellors, what do I do from there. And we're really lucky at the school that I work at, is we are funded for a school-based health psychologist. So we have a doctor, a nurse, a counsellor and a psychologist who comes in once a week. You know, I thought originally when I started nursing, I was like, maybe this isn't for me. You know, being a nurse, I was like, oh, this is a bit rubbish, you know, it's a bit hard. But I never actually thought I would be 100% happy in work that I did. I thought, you know, I wouldn't be happy until I won lotto and, you know, never had to work again. But working with youth is 100% like what I'm supposed to be doing, and I genuinely love what I do. Like, I love the kids that I work with, and I have a lot of job satisfaction to the point where money doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? Like, being a nurse, it doesn't matter. It's so worth it, yeah.
What are your plans for the future?
Oh, it's a hard one. You know, like, I love being in the schools and stuff, but at the same time, after being in YJ and just kind of seeing there's just so much missing there as well. Like, for our kids that do their time there, where do they go afterwards? Like, why don't we have something more there for them? Like, yeah, they have some remand homes and stuff, but I still think we're really missing a lot of things in our youth, for our youth in New Zealand. I love being able to help kids and just kind of show them that there's, you know, lots of people out there that care about them, you know? Yeah, definitely.
No.